Welcome back. Today I want to talk about licking and chewing. And what does it really mean? It's something that you hear a lot about. You'll often hear people tell you how good licking and chewing is, and particularly when it comes to the horse learning things. But there's a little more to it than that. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't think most people truly understand how it works. I mean, it can be an indication of the horse learning something because, well, some people, I'll back up a little bit. I've read an awful lot of articles on the subject over the years explaining in detail how it actually works, what's taking place in the horse, and that sort of thing. And it leads me to believe that most people actually don't truly understand it, which is really odd because it's a relatively simple concept, but not unlike humans. When you're in a very stressful situation, you get dry mouth. Now, I don't like making things complicated, so I'm going to keep this as simple as possible. I'm not going to talk about the sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve systems and how it switches from one to the other and all this. I'm going to keep it as simple as I can to make it as understandable as possible. So, okay, when you get stressed out, you get dry mouth. Well, so does the horse. And when the stress is over, or it learns something and is no longer stressed by the situation, the dry mouth situation goes away. It starts to produce saliva, and that's when it does the licking and chewing thing. Well, there's a couple of sides to that I think we need to consider. First off, if we're stressing the horse enough that it's getting dry mouth in the first place, well, we might want to reconsider our approach to how we're teaching if it's actually stressing the horse that much. Secondly, is just because the horse is licking and chewing, or because it may be more correct, I should say, because the horse doesn't lick and chew, does not necessarily mean it hasn't figured it out. It simply means that it wasn't stressed to the point of having dry mouth in the first place. So, is it an indicator for sure that the horse is actually learning something? Not necessarily. It does often coincide with the horse learning something because of the phenomena of it's very stressed when it doesn't understand what you want and what's going on, and it will get dry mouth. And then when it finally figures out what the heck it is you actually want, and depending on how you do it, that could be a very stressful situation for the horse, and it could take a while before it figures it out. When it finally does figure it out, well, then all of a sudden it starts producing saliva again, and it does the licking and chewing. It's not really chewing, but it does do a lot of licking and such because it's trying to absorb and swallow all the saliva that's being produced after the dry mouth situation. So, like I said, just because it doesn't do that doesn't mean it hasn't learned. It just means it was never stressed to the point of having dry mouth in the first place. And it usually is an indication that it has learned if it does do it, though, because it's gone from very stressed to not so stressed, to the point where that dry mouth situation goes away. Now, how much stress with your particular horse it takes, that's going to vary. Some horses might get stressed quite easily. Some might just look at you and kind of go, "You're acting kind of weird. I don't understand what you want," and continue on licking and chewing just like they've always done. And sometimes that chewing has got nothing to do with the fact it's learned something. It could have had some food lodged in its mouth that it's been carrying around with it for the better part of a half hour, because horses can do that. So the whole licking and chewing thing, what does it really mean? Does it really mean the horse is learning? Well, it's an indicator that it could be, but just because it doesn't mean it isn't. And the fact that it goes from the dry mouth to salivating, that's not necessarily a good thing. So I don't know that it's an indicator that we should be looking for or wanting. It's not necessarily a positive thing. So as with many of my videos, I'm not trying to tell you how it is. Although I've read, more articles than I can count on the subject. Most recently, I just read another one today, not specifically on that one subject, but that was included amongst a bunch of other things, which kind of inspired me to do this and talk about it. And although I think I'm fairly well informed on the subject, don't take my word for it. I am just trying to help you out a bit by condensing the many hours of reading that I've done into a couple of minutes of video. But at the same time, I'm hoping I'm going to inspire you to do a little bit of reading on your own. The next time you see a article on the subject, take the time to read it. It might give you a little insight into how the whole system works and how the horse goes from one mode to another, and what causes the licking and chewing. And like I said, I honestly, I don't believe it's necessarily a good thing, but then again, the absence of it isn't necessarily a bad thing either. Well, that's just my opinion. So what does licking and chewing really mean? Well, go check it out. Don't just take my word for it. Have a good day.